This is your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Friday, August 13th. Authorities are closely monitoring a new COVID-19 family cluster that's developing. But according to Health and Wellness Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, the majority of the clusters identified over the last several weeks are now inactive. He gave the update to reporters at the Grantley Adams International Airport today as Barbados welcomed the arrival of Pfizer vaccines. Minister Bostic told reporters health officials are on top of the situation.
We would have indicated before that there were several clusters. Most of the clusters are inactive. The cluster of concern at the moment remains what we call the bar cluster, starting with the wedding locally and then some bar hopping. That cluster is still growing. I believe my last count, I haven't seen today's results as yet, but my last count was about 49. But we've been able to contain to the extent that we have the contact tracing process has been going very, very well. And to be honest, I would like to compliment those persons who were positive for really sharing information. That has made it very much easier for us. And we've been able to quarantine persons, quarantine families in order to contain the spread. But that is the one major cluster we're looking at this point in time. And then only yesterday we started to see the development of another family cluster that we are watching. But we're on top of things where these clusters are concerned.
Barbados today took fresh guard in the fight against the coronavirus. That's according to Acting Prime Minister Cynthia Bradshaw, as she received a shipment of just over 70,000 doses of Pfizer vaccines from the United States government. It's the first of 3 shipments to Barbados that forms part of Washington's donation of 5.5 million doses of vaccines to CARICOM countries. Minister Bradshaw says the Pfizer vaccines come at an opportune time in light of ongoing discussions about mandatory vaccination and regular testing.
Today's donation, however, will provide us with the opportunity to re-inject some momentum into our vaccination program, and we're certainly looking forward to that. I don't think the timing could even be better given that we're in the middle of consultations with the general public about vaccination and testing, and I'm sure all of you are well aware of the vigorous debate and the various opinions that have been contending. But the truth of the matter, we can do nothing unless we actually have the vaccinations available to us. The other thing we have to recognize as well is that it's not just about acquiring a vaccine. It is also about ensuring that small countries like ours have access to a variety of vaccines. For while we talk so much about vaccine hesitancy, we cannot ignore the fact that in many cases, individuals are not necessarily against the vaccine per se, but also want to have a choice as to which vaccine they should take.
So far, 31% of the Barbados population is fully vaccinated. The acting Prime Minister also used the occasion to remind developed countries to do more to help less fortunate countries secure COVID-19 vaccines.
Only 1.2% of people in low-income countries have received at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Can we ask for a more vivid picture of the challenge we face as a developing country than that? Is it at all possible that those of us with the power to make decisions do not recognize that as long as the ambassador also referred to, that as long as one corner of the globe where the virus is ignored, then the rest of us remain vulnerable so long as that is allowed to happen?
Environment Minister Adrian Ford is calling for more to be done to help rehabilitate incarcerated Barbadians back into wider society. He made the call during a tree planting ceremony today at the Government Industrial School Dodds in St. Philip. Ford says opportunities such as the National Tree Planting Exercise, as well as other initiatives which engage persons in groups to cooperate and work towards a common goal, must be introduced to citizens who are trying to turn their lives around.
We have to find rehabilitative measures when persons are incarcerated to be able to help them to do their time, but at the same time, allow them to improve their lives. Whether it is, there's certain tenets that we must appreciate that goes along with tree planting and care for trees and the whole silviculture. The tenets of hard work, discipline, selflessness, the ability to care for something. All those tenets, I think, help make persons better. And that's why not only the caring for the plants, but I see right behind you and in front of me, black belly sheep. And that is the type of exercise that we want our young people to be involved in. Caring of plants and caring of animals and the caring of their surroundings and the caring of, which will redound to the caring of Barbados, most importantly, and themselves. So it is a holistic exercise to help build and rehabilitate our people.
There was an outpouring of glowing tributes as family, friends, colleagues, and Barbadians bid farewell to former businessman and cricketer Rawle Brancker today. Brancker, who died at the age of 83 last month, was remembered as a family man, the consummate businessman, and an outstanding cricketer. In an emotional tribute, his son Adrian Brancker said his dad's passing has left a deep void.
You were so many things to so many people: husband, father, brother, uncle, grandfather, father-in-law, friend, mentor, confidant, partner, sounding board, inspirer, and leader. But you were my dad, and you filled many of those roles for me simultaneously. You always set the bar very high, and you taught me that honesty, integrity, and humility were some of the most important assets a man could have. And you would always say, and they don't cost you anything. You always reminded me that our name was on the door and the responsibility that came with that honor. You had a way of speaking, always soft-spoken, always direct and deliberate.
Delivering the eulogy, Sir Wes Hall described his longtime friend as an outstanding man.
I have lost a long-time friend and my confidant, but I am not moved like Priam, pitiful groaning at the death of Hector. Instead, I am thinking that I should really ask God, praise God for the life and times of my friend Rawle, and I want to celebrate the unbroken friendship we shared. Rawle Brancker was a well-mannered human being, a decent gentleman. He loved God, his family, and his friends. So that was really a few of us, I think that a few of us can conceive in this atmosphere while we shall have a gifted spirit, then it moves. The many calls from people around the world and saints outpouring so much sympathy speaks really to his character.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news, Jamaican health authorities are worried that the country is fast reaching a danger zone as COVID-19 cases continue to rise. They have revealed that hospitalizations are soaring. More on this report from Television Jamaica.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Misesa Mackenzie painted a grim picture of the COVID hospitalization situation facing the country. She says to date, there are over 600 beds being occupied by COVID patients. That number represents both confirmed and suspected cases.
Our peak, March, April, we were at just over 700, and now we are just over 600. So we're fast approaching that peak, which would put us in a very dangerous zone in terms of the threat to the care for COVID patients in our hospitals. Next slide. And you can see at the zoning that it puts us in a very high level of pressure on the hospital system when we have this amount of beds that are being occupied by COVID suspected or confirmed cases.
The CMO said the positivity rate is also dangerously high. She said the country has gone back to where it was during the peak in March, April of this year.
In terms of positivity, we have jumped. We're over 30% at a very high transmission level in country. Our reproductive rate remains at about 1.3, which means that as the numbers go up, more and more persons are being exposed.
On the international front, the Taliban's advance in Afghanistan continued at an alarming pace today as 3 key cities in the south were wrested from the control of Afghan government forces. We get the details from Euronews.
Taliban fighters in Afghanistan have captured Kandahar, the country's second largest city, after earlier taking control of Herat, the third largest, and the strategic city of Ghazni, cutting an important link between Kabul and the south. The Taliban are now thought to control 2/3 of the country only weeks after the complete withdrawal of the American troops. Washington has announced it will send troops to evacuate its embassy's personnel, while many Western countries have asked their nationals to leave the country.
The first movement will consist of 3 infantry battalions that are currently in the Central Command area of responsibility. They will move to Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul within the next 24 to 48 hours. 2 of those battalions are United States Marines, and 1 is a U.S. Army battalion.
Hopes for a diplomatic solution are fading, but representatives of the Taliban and the Afghan government are still holding talks in Qatar.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.